I'm sorry, I keep forgetting to do that, recording in progress.
Oh, hit record.
Thank you. Who else has got some gratitude?
The new agent this morning for your market center. It was such a pleasure.
Oh,
And I'm going to introduce her. I'm going to try this all by myself.
Okay.
Sophia. Did I do it right? I had to think about it for a minute. She came in this morning, was the only one in here, and I went over and introduced her, and she's brand new.
Yeah.
And somebody I want to make sure she get introduced today. Love it. Aw. That's fine. Did I pronounce your name?
Yes. Who else? One more gratitude before we get to our culture moments.
I had a really amazing time with you all at the retreat.
It was so good.
Awesome. So
It
thank
was
you guys.
so good.
I think we were the best group there, but that's.
Yeah.
That was loud.
That's part of the whole retreat.
And best looking group too.
No, but that's the best part. You know how hard it is to burn a body?
Terry, we're gonna have to talk about things we don't.
Learn a lot.
Yeah.
Nothing, Melba.
Oh, yes. Have you, no, it's have you, I don't know if you've ever heard of body.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever.
I was not part of that.
Yeah. Let's just say you can't do it and it smells, so don't try.
Yeah,
And people notice.
but the fact that
People
the assumption
notice.
was that we may know,
Yeah.
but
It was interesting.
Yeah.
Clearly.
sounds like
We
a
all
false
spent a couple days with Diana Kokoska, Tony DeSello, Andy and Leslie. It was incredible, y'all. I think I counted my pages of notes. I had 13 pages of notes. And, it was really, really amazing. So, yes, definitely I'll second that, third that. It was just crazy good to be with y'all, so. All right, what kind of cultural moments do we have this morning? Now that we've been gone for a few days, I'm sure we've been with each other, showing houses from other listing agents, other buyer agents here. What do we have that we can share, cultural moments? From our chat and respect. Did anybody tag it this week? Anybody tag the chat?
Sandy does, I see her.
And I did too from Thursday, Friday. Sandy, you nodded your head. What did you tag?
Some of the things from the clinic.
From the ALC?
Yeah, and I don't think there was something else too, but definitely the pictures from the clinic and the.
Yeah.
I feel like there was something else in the.
Anybody have a cultural moment or anybody want to shout out to another agent here? Gotta wait. Yes.
Well, I'm having the first commercial meeting with Raven. We're gonna try to like do a deal together.
I know he's around here somewhere. I just saw him. I saw him. That's awesome. Anybody else going once? Go ahead, shout out.
I might be able to save on book this weekend.
Yeah, maybe. All right, okay.
Oh, I've got one more.
Oh, yes, I want to hear about that.
Yes, guys. My clicker is not working this morning. I'm just
All right.
So most of us are part of Neymar, some as part of Atlanta Board of Realtors. And so applications are due for the $1 Million Club. Here, I'll stand in so people online can see as well. So get your applications in. You go online to either Neymar or if you're part of the Atlanta Realtor Association, fill out your application. There are some minimums. So the $1 Million Club is to be recognized for your sales. So it doesn't mean you have to sell $1 million, but there are some minimum requirements. So for the applications for Neymar, you need to have a minimum of 75,000 GCI for an individual agent or 150 for a team. For an individual agent, it's at least 5 transactions. For a team, $10. And then for, the Atlanta Realtor Association, it's a minimum volume of 5 million. So a little different requirements, but you get your applications in, if you want to get recognized. I know some of us are coming up on that 10-year mark for Phoenix Award, to make sure you fill them out, get them in. They do need to be approved by, Linda Beth, so we need the applications to be filled out and completed for Neymar by January 29th, and $1 Million Club, that's tomorrow. Any questions about that? Yes, ma'am.
Do we know when the, I always call it Realtor Prom, but like, do we know when the banquet is for that?
Yeah.
I don't know the dates.
The
yet.
official name.
But you should start shopping for that right now, but I'll find out,
Well,
the exact day of
I kind
the,
of have to
of
shop
Realtor Prom.
the week
Maybe
before
two
next
days.
row.
And
Yeah.
that's another reason why we fill out these applications, is because you do get your recognition and, your name and all the things in the booklet, that goes every year for Realtor Prom.
Are there any questions on that? Okay. All right, is it gonna work? All right. Okay, I know you're so excited about this. So excited. All right, got a couple questions. We had an MREA quiz on Thursday. And Laura Donna took the whole thing. She had 100% on the quiz. And we didn't do so bad.
We did not do
We did not
that.
do so bad.
I was pretty impressed with
Yeah.
that much reading number.
Yeah.
9.
From-
We had a 9-day, yeah. So we're gonna ask a couple questions on this. And, let's see how we're doing here. Because we've been asking questions pretty much on a regular here. All right, this one I'm gonna throw you a curve. How much of your GCI can you budget for lead gen?
Oh, that was the hardest question.
I know, I don't wanna check. Hold on, before you do it, because you know the answer.
I know.
Let's see if anybody else knows. How much can you budget of your GCI towards lead gen?
First question, which model is this?
Y'all are cracking me up today.
Should I go like auction style, like, can I get $1? Can I
Okay,
get
should I
$1?
do a multiple choice? Should we do a multiple choice? Yeah, okay. All right. Is it 25%? Is it 9%? Or is it 15%?
15.
It's 9.
I'm not.
Sandy, I did not mean to just completely dismiss you. But you knew.
I am
this.
cheating.
You knew this. 9% of your budget should go towards lead gen. Why is that important?
Have more budget.
So you can have more money, more profit, right? What if you're spending way more than you should in your lead gen, in your marketing, and all of a sudden you don't have as much profit, right? There was one time in my business that I thought 50% of my profits or of my income, my revenue, thank you, was coming from my online pay-per-lead business. And it was costing me $35,000 a year for this online business. Pay-per-click and all that, about $35,000 a year. And I thought 50%, because I was like guessing. That'll get you every time. And then I audited it. I was like, I better check my numbers. This is when I finally started figuring things out. I checked it. It was actually only 25% of my business. So when I realized that 25% of my business was actually costing me $35,000 and 65% of my business was actually coming from my sphere, that was only costing me maybe $5,000 a year, what did I do?
Double down on your screen.
Hello. I cut way back on my $35,000 a year spending budget and I doubled down on my sphere. So it's really, really important for us to know our numbers and where we're spending, because that could make all the difference in your profit, right? Okay, what are the 3 key hires in helping you achieve MREA status? By the way, who has on goal this year to become MREA? Yeah.
Raise my hand.
Yeah,
I am proud, get it out.
Nobody wants to be a millionaire this year, I'm sorry.
Do we want to, or do we have a plan to do it?
Well, oh, right, yeah. Because even if you don't have a plan, we can have a plan, we can create a plan. So what are the three main key hires for the MREA status?
Get your Nina.
Get you, Nina.
That is a good idea.
What's that title?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You've gotta get started for you.
Yeah. I call her an assistant, but she calls herself chief executive officer.
Okay.
I don't know what to do. I'm head of operations.
COO.
Or DOO.
She doesn't.
Okay,
I'm whatever.
so officially, and for the MREA admin or, right, COO. What else? What are the other two key hires?
Buyer's agent.
More specific?
Buyer's agent,
Yes. What's the other one?
listing agent.
Yes, lead listing. Go Brian. Go Brian. So lead listing agent, lead buyer agent, and an admin. Which one would come first? Yes.
There's the 9, and there's for your.
All right, good. Awesome job.
Got payday.
We're going to master these.
We're gonna not, MREA.
We are well on our way. All right, Ashley.
Good morning. How's everybody doing today? Feeling lively and excited. I can tell from that. Ashley Connor with the Kelly and Sorahan. What I wanted to talk to y'all about this morning was a great touch for your clients. Now that we're in January, sending out a reminder on the homestead exemption is a great reason for you to reach out to a large part of your database. So what is the homestead exemption? You save money on your taxes for living in the property that you own. So you can only have homestead on one property, but the large majority of your buyers are gonna be living in the property. It is based off of the January 1st owner. So anyone who bought in 2023 should be applying for that homestead exemption now, between now and April 1st. April 1st is the deadline. Counties are not very forgiving. So if they forget and try on April 2nd, they're kind of SOL, okay? So it's a great touch for y'all to send out something to those buyers that you had from last year, whether they're cash or loan, because nobody else is really gonna be reminding them. And think of your buyers that bought in like March. Are they gonna remember all the way until now? Probably not. So you wanna send out that reminder, not a bad idea. If you had a seller last year that maybe moved in Georgia, reach out to them too, even if they're in like South Georgia, so you didn't help them with the purchase, they still might be eligible for that homestead exemption. The exemption, really the window is for all exemptions, so there might be some clients you have that would qualify for the senior exemption, which is actually even higher savings, but great touch for y'all to reach out, they'll appreciate it, and then we all like to have creative and helpful touches that bring value. Any questions on homestead? And another reminder on that, you only have to apply for it once. So once you have it, you don't have to reapply, unless the deed changes at all. Not if you change the humans on the deed, if you change it at all. So, on the deed, even though I love her so. But what an example of that is if you had a client that refinanced, sometimes if they've applied for the loan with their middle initial, they didn't already have the middle initial on the deed, they changed the deed, they need to reapply for homestead. They add their spouse, certainly that would be changing the humans, you'd have to reapply. So some people don't remember that that was part of their refinance. So that's a great thing to add to your touch too, and maybe could extend past people who just bought last year to previous clients, is if you happen to refinance last year and your deed was updated at all, you need to reapply. Because most people don't know that, they think it's on there, I'm all set. Which is true, again, unless you've updated the deed in any form at all.
Send it to everybody, send it to every single person in your sphere, even if they don't even have a home, tell them read the check. Get the touch, and people forget, they forget to apply, so even if they buy a house in 2021, they still need to check to make sure they have that homestead exemption
Yeah.
on their tax. I send every single year to every single person.
Yeah, cause
You're
that's,
the expert, right?
and that's a good point in that there's the expiration for that particular year, but you can always apply the following year. So like if they missed it last year, they can totally apply this year. If they missed it in 2021, they can apply for it this year. So great reminder for everybody that you got. And then I've got, my beats, perfect. So a couple things for the rest of the month. Tomorrow, I'm doing a class from 10 to 11 on reading surveys. I get a lot of questions about that, so make sure you come to that. I love it when y'all are in person. It'll be on Zoom too, but the more humans in the room, the happier I am. We've got Capper's Lunch with our friends at Onward on tomorrow as well at noon at Stage. So if you capped in the fourth quarter of 2023, we would love to celebrate you. Friday, the 19th from 10 to 11, we've got a new agent meet and greet again with Onward. So if you're new, we've got a good open house book. That's a great introductory learning tool for those new agents. And we'll each go over what kind of the top things that we want new agents to know are from the attorney side and from the lender side. And then Monday, the 22nd, we've got coffee talk again with our besties at Onward. So 10 to 11, that's open for any questions, anything you guys see going on. That's, obviously we're happy to answer questions whenever, but that's kind of a designated discussion time to come ask those questions. And I think people learn from each other's questions as well. The other thing that's not up here, because it's not in January, but if you're going to family reunion, we've got our happy hour that Sunday, I think it's the 25th, from 7 to 9. So we'll get that invite sent out, but if you're gonna be there, we would love to come celebrate with you. It's always a really fun time, so definitely put it on your calendars. And other than that, don't forget to put O'Kelly and Swordy in on page 1 of your contracts. I appreciate you guys. The best.
Morning.
Morning.
How's everyone? This weather's got me tired. Feel a little, like dry.
Slept in yesterday. I mean,
Yes, very true. I did a little bit, I did it. Thanks for calling me out. You want to kick us off on rates?
Sure, yeah, so last week on Thursday, we had CPI inflation, it came in above what we expected, which is usually not good news. However, for whatever reason, and we haven't seen this in the last 12 or 18 months, but rates actually moved in the positive direction, even after a bad inflation report. So with that being said, we do think that the forecast for 2024 is going to be very positive. Rates may steady out until we get a Fed meeting on January 31st to see what they have to say and some of their sentiments towards rates. But with rates still moving in the right direction after a bad CPI inflation report, that is great news for the foreseeable future. So still hovering around 6.5.
Okay, so, I want to remind you all about our, SMART series. These are our portfolio loans. They are what we call non-QM, which basically means they are not conforming. So it's not going to be like your conventional and government-backed loans. These are going to be the ones that are kind of weird, right? So the people that don't fit in that box, self-employed people who write off a ton on their taxes, this is perfect for. We've actually got one that's closing in less than 3 weeks with our bank statement loan. So that's pretty unheard of in the industry. Usually those take longer. Just like our other stuff, we can pre-underwrite people who fit into these loans as well. So if they're an investor that's doing a SmartVest loan, which is our DSCR loan, or if they're a bank statement person, we can get them all pre-underwritten, the same as we do our other stuff, so you guys can still be very competitive in getting them under contract. The best thing to note, not just price went out this week, the one that we've got closing, and the rate on our bank statement loan was not even a point higher than the conventional, it was more like 3/4 of a point higher. So that's really, really good. I mean, I remember back in the day when bank statement loans, when we had ones that weren't in-house, I mean, they were 10%, and that was when rates were much lower than they are now. So come a long way. Again, these are ours, they're in-house, they're not brokered, which is another huge plus. So keep that in mind if you've got someone who's self-employed, especially on the bank statement, if they've said, well, I have a hard time qualifying, or I already talked to a lender and I don't show enough, think right away, okay, let me talk to our lender, they've got a great loan that might work for you.
Awesome, good deal. And in the spirit of Ashley bringing up refinances and homestead, refinance applications are up 30% from last year. So people are starting to, the news is catching on, rates are dropping, and they're inquiring about it. I've been doing this long enough, we've been doing this long enough to know that a lot of times your clients are gonna come to you first and ask for advice. What's important is there's really two main types of refinances. There's a rate and term. So someone who's just trying to lower their payment or shorten the term and pay the house off faster. Normally, a rule of thumb is we want their interest rate to drop by 0.75 to a full point in a rate and term regulations. And what the rates are, if they're above 7, it's a great time for you to connect them with us. The other is a cash out refinance. So this is different than a HELOC. This is someone whose their entire mortgage is going to be refinanced into the new interest rate, and they can pull cash out. That's not as interest rate driven. It's really more about what they're trying to accomplish. So they've got taxes that, personal taxes that are owed, and they're paying the IRS over 8%, or credit card debt they're trying to consolidate. You can just pulling cash out for an investment property, investment opportunity. It's not so interest rate driven. We don't necessarily need to drop the rate by 0.75 or a full point. So I just want to keep you guys educated. We know your clients will be going back to you. We'd love to help clients that you've closed in the past that are looking to refinance.
It's a great touch for all our database.
Absolutely.
If you purchased a house in the last 12 to 18 months, we have the resource for you.
Yes,
Homestead and refunds.
yes.
That's right.
Awesome. Thank you.
And a quick addition, I was gonna say with refinances, if they use the same lender and they have the exact same names on the new mortgage, then they save a ton on intangible tax. So it would be wise to guide them to the lender they use, and that's a great touch for you guys, because if they bought with y'all as the lender, then they absolutely should refinance with you guys to save all that money on intangible
Whoa,
tax
that's
too.
big.
Only thing they'll save on their escrow is we can transfer the escrow to the new loan instead of them having to reload the entire escrow. So the amount of money they have to bring to closing is way less, even though they'd be refunded anyway. So
Yeah, because the difference on the intangible tax, like normally it's $3 for every 1,000 of the loan. But if you have the exact same lender and the exact same borrowers, you're just paying that 3 per 1,000 on the difference between your outstanding principal balance and the new loan balance, which obviously is gonna be a lot smaller than an entire loan balance. So it's pretty significant savings.
Yes, and if they use a different lender, we'll figure out a way to match that in terms of savings. And don't send it back. If they use a different lender, don't send it back to them. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me see if I can even say it right. Is there, say if someone wants to refinance their house for the lower rate, is there a certain amount of time that you say, well, you only want to refinance if you're gonna be in the house this many more years? What is that number? That makes it worth the refinance?
It's all just a calculation. So we look at basically how much to save. If we're doing a rate and term, so they're trying to reduce their payment, we're looking at what the hard cost of the loan is based off of what the actual interest saving is monthly. And then we just make sure that that's within that time frame, how long they plan on paying.
And that's something you don't want to answer anyway, because it makes you look like a loan officer told you to call.
Yes, yeah, but there's
Well,
like,
yeah, oh,
to that point, I've got a client who she says, I'm not selling this property. Once I move out, I'm gonna turn it into a rental. Let's buy this thing, let's get the lowest rate we possibly can. And she's wanting to buy down that rate, as far as we can. So it just.
yeah, but I have someone that's like, well, should I think of refinancing? I've been in the house only 9 months, and they're like, I'm only gonna probably be here 4 or 5 years. Should I?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
man.
A general rule of thumb, I've always looked at it, if it's under 2 years, you really wanna really crunch those numbers. But 4 or 5 years, I would think, yeah, your costs are not gonna. But like Matt said, we literally have a calculator, on the worksheets that I use to send clients, that we've got this. Off to the side is a little, it figures in, here's the costs, here's the savings, here's the break even. So we can know from that, when we're talking to them, that's a great question, but it's definitely something we're walking through with them. So they know, hey, you can do this, it'll take you, 18 months to recoup the costs that you are building into your loan. Oh yeah, I plan to be here 4 or 5 years, good to go.
Awesome. Thank you all so much.
Yeah, you got it. Is not here, and I know, Kelly is not here either, but Tessa's online. She had to be home with her kiddos because of weather, so she's gonna join us here via Zoom. Hi, Tessa.
Hi, good morning. Yes, I'm single momming this week. My husband's out of town and my kids don't have school. So I was like, can you send me the Zoom link? So that I didn't miss 2 weeks in a row, because last week my whole neighborhood was flooded after all that rain and we couldn't get out. So anyhow, I have something actually that's helpful to you guys personally this morning. I know insurance is not the most exciting topic, but I like to be a resource to help you guys in your personal lives. And I know many of you have traveled and rented a car, right? So when you go on vacation, you get to the airport, you go to the Hertz or the Enterprise desk and you sign on the dotted line. There's always an option for supplemental insurance. And I have a client just this last week that's had a pretty bad experience not getting that. And I had one probably 2 or 3 months ago over the holidays that did. And I want to kind of go over real quickly kind of the benefits of purchasing that. I always recommend clients to purchase a supplemental insurance policy. Usually it's less than $50, $75, depending on how long you're renting the car. But one thing your personal auto policy is not going to cover, there's several things actually. So when you get in a wreck and then they're deeming the loss value, there's something called loss valuation and loss settlement. If the damage that you do to the car is, it makes it to where it's more to replace the car. And so then you have to come out of pocket for that replacement cost value, because your policy is not going to cover that because it's considered actual cash value. So that's one thing. You could be on the hook for a lot more money. Another thing is when there's damage to a rental car, a lot of times the rental car companies require immediate payment, which means they're going to charge a hefty sum to your credit card on file, regardless of fault, regardless of anything, until they figure out more details. And then also you're responsible for things like indirect losses, which includes lost rental income. So even though the wrecked car is sitting on their lot, you're responsible for covering their loss of rentals while it's being repaired, which that can add up. Administrative expenses can add up. And also you have no deductible when you purchase that insurance, and a claim will not go on your auto history. And there's no out-of-state legal issues. So say you're in Georgia and you rent a car in Florida, there can always be a gray area crossing state lines. So it's just something, the next time you're traveling, the next time you have that quick decision to make, it's always worth it to spend that little bit of extra money to get that supplemental insurance. Then you don't have to worry about it if anything happens to the car. So hopefully that's a helpful tidbit, because I know it's something that we all deal with.
Is there an insurance policy that we could have personally to actually cover that rental insurance?
So there is a rider that a lot of carriers do offer that you can add on. One of the problems with that is, like I said, crossing state lines. Sometimes that can get muddy depending on, say you're in Las Vegas, Nevada, then you're subject to their laws, their insurance regulations, and you're a resident of Georgia. Sometimes that can get kind of muddy. And then it's also linked to your personal auto insurance and your claim history. So even if you were to get into an accident, not be at fault, and then have to claim it on your personal, because of, the person was uninsured or whatever, then that's going to be a claim on your history. So, but that's a good question.
What are your thoughts in regards to using your credit card for coverage? Because some credit cards offer that.
So that's another common thing. And sometimes it depends on your credit card. It's one of those things you really have to read the fine print and understand what's going to be covered, what's not going to be covered. And that's something that I'm happy to help anybody with. Within your credit card documents, like God, I can't think of the term, but you can go to like American Express and print off your, basically your contract with them. American Express, I will say, is the best, but it depends. It depends on if you're international versus domestic. Sometimes they require that they're the supplemental payer. So your primary auto coverage will then be the primary, and then the Amex or whatever credit card coverage will come in secondary. So then it's still, a tarnish on your driving history.
Good
Thank
info.
you.
Thank you, Tess.
Yeah, that's it. So everybody stay warm.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks. See ya.
All right. I think we've got Lucy. That's just Lucy. Just Lucy. Yeah.
Oh, not just.
Not just, no, not just.
Be amazing.
There we go.
You'll see enough.
All of my technical expertise kind of right down that. Okay, so I had a couple of appointments last week that were very specific. And I wanted to show you guys the functionality of how you can kind of filter your database. So, one person wanted to see how they could just look at emails and the emails they were missing. And they were gonna make those phone calls to those people to try to get that information. So we created a smart view. So in order to do that, you go to your contacts, which is your second icon down. And then you click right there in the middle where it says Smart Views, and you go create Smart View. And then you give it a name. So we can call this one emails. And I think I have emails already, so I'm gonna do emails too. And then you click Save Smart View. So now we're not messing with our main screen, which has all the information we want. We're creating a separate. Then you go into Customize Columns. And I just want these, so I'm gonna unclick everything else. So I just have my emails. Don't forget to scroll down and hit save or apply. Okay, and then now I can actually sort by email. I have all the emails here, but if you didn't, they can go back. Okay. Another way you could use this, and I helped another agent with this, was to do birthdays. So we created, create a Smart View. Do birthdays. And spell it. Birthdays. And we'll power that. And now you can customize you and add a date of birth. She wanted to send cards out to all of her people in January and be done for the month. So that's why we did that for her and applied. And now you can sort by all the January ones, so on and so forth. So I thought to show you guys, just so you would have just to know a little. Any questions on that?
Can we do that on our phone? With our contacts, or does it have to be on the desktop, you know?
I think you have to set it up here.
Okay.
And then you'll have it on the stuff, yes. But I will double check.
I think the great question just didn't have it.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, Melba. I know you're gonna bring the energy up.
Oh, of course I will. Hi, I'm Melba Franklin. For those that do not know me, I am Melba Franklin. I am the broker for Georgia Legacy Group, Director of Broker Services. So I don't know how much time I have. I assume like everybody else got 10 minutes, right?
Sure.
Okay, but I do want you to know what I'm about to bring up. I will stay after the class today. Dina has asked me to stay so that if I could answer any specific questions. So everybody remembers that in 2023, the Forbes Committee changed the buyer brokerage engagement agreement. We all had a little bit of a cake because it said that they're gonna pay this, remember, minus. We dealt with it and we handled it really well. Well, in 2024, the Forms Committee, because of the lawsuits that are happening, made a big change to the seller brokerage engagement agreement. And basically, it's going to give us a hiccup, but we've got to learn to deal with it. So what it says is this. It says the first part under commission, and we'll read it because it didn't change. It just says commission to pay the seller's broker. Seller agrees to pay broker the following commission at the closing of any contract to sell is that term hereunder defined to the property as follows. So our policy with we don't do just any number there. We don't say it's standard or normal. God help me, I had an agent this weekend tell me that, and I like to have a heart attack. We say, of course, it's negotiable. However, our office policy is that we charge 3 to the seller. Mr. Seller, I hope I have showed you the value that I bring to you in my marketing plan and all the other things. And as a result, I feel like you realize that my value is 3%. So this is what we put here is 3%. That's the value that I give you. The second part says, seller directs seller's broker to pay or not to pay a cooperating broker a portion of seller's commission above. Nothing in here shall obligate the seller to direct broker to pay any portion of its commission to a cooperating broker. In such event, the buyer shall be responsible for paying the cooperating, I have to say broker's commission. If seller's broker is paying a cooperating broker a portion of its commission, it shall be an amount set forth below, subject to the following exceptions. So, Mr. Seller, you have a choice today, if you want to give the buyer broker a commission or not. It's up to you, it's your choice. That is the word that I want you to leave here with today. You're gonna hear me say what I just said over and over. I'm gonna be at Chartmasters on Thursday, by the way. If you have plans on Thursday, cancel them. Be at Chartmasters on Thursday, imperative. I'm gonna be singing this song for a year, because we've got to work through this. So when I get to this portion of it, I am going to say this, Mr. Seller, I recommend, but it's your choice. I recommend that you give the other broker 3%. As I mentioned to you earlier, I have 3 goals. One is to get you the most money in your pocket. Number 2 is the shortest amount of time, and number 3 with the least headache. In my experience is giving an incentive to the other broker, because we all know that the number 1 source of buyers is other agents. Does the seller think that? No. He thinks it's the internet. But we need to stop and explain to him, actually, the number 1 source of buyers for your property is other agents. Because there's agents all over Atlanta, and by exposing your home on the multiple listing service to all of the agents in Georgia, gets you a better price. And that was number 1 goal, is to get you the highest price. So, Mr. Seller, we do recommend that we give an incentive to the other agent, because it helps get you a better deal, as well as it also helps that agent, because they couldn't come back and ask you later, so we could go ahead and set the price and offer it to them now. But it's your choice. Folks, you will say that at least twice. I'm gonna recommend you say it more than that. It's your choice. It's your decision. It's your decision. Well, what do you recommend? I recommend we give the other agent an incentive of 3%. Everybody got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Exceptions, well, the only way, it was always in the contract, just different wording, and that would be if, and there's nothing illegal about this, as long as you disclose it. If I show the, remember how you used to see in the multiple listing service and private remarks, if I show this, your listing, and you bring an offer, you will be 1% less than is advertised in the multiple listing service. Everybody got it? Well, that's okay. There's nothing illegal about it. So you put the multiple listing service. What they realize is that the seller needs to know it at the time you list. Everybody got it? So an exception would be, an example would be the buyer's agent will only get this if in the event I show the property first. Everybody got it? So that's the big change. Now stay there for just a minute. Everybody got it? You're gonna have to practice these scripts. Sandy, I hate to do it to you, but you did tell me, and I did pull you out of the other thing. You did what I said, am I right? Or something similar to it. And the seller had a problem or none?
None.
Not even a little bit. Does everybody get it? Okay. So her listing now is in the multiple listing service. Her seller agreed, or it's going to be. I'm sorry. And her seller signed it, and her seller agreed to pay the 6% with 3 going to the other agent, but you made a comment to him, you told him why, and you gave him a choice. Am I right?
Mhm.
And it wasn't as hard. So what I'm doing to you today is to give you that script. Everybody got it? Georgia Legacy Group has changed our office policy. You might be getting it this week. We spent hours and hours and hours on working on it. And your new policy will come out. And the old policy didn't give the seller a choice. Today it will. But I think the word incentive and explaining that we think it's a better, sale for your property is to give the other agent an incentive. Are we good? I'm gonna be honest with you. I think the majority of you are gonna be saying it in all of our markets. And your communication with the seller is going to be very well done. And you're going to encourage the seller to pay the 6%. I really do. But there's a problem in the industry. You have to co-op. And there are a lot of real estate companies out there that have made a decision not to say anything, not to talk about the lawsuit, not to talk about any of this, is to have a zip lip. So what we're finding is your co-op agents that you're co-oping with don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to communicate. They don't know what to do. I've had several last week that said there's a new law out that says the seller can't pay commission. Now, I swear. The other co-op agents are not getting, that they're working with other industries, are not getting the education and the conversations and how to handle things like you are. They have elected in their companies to not talk about it. Everybody got it? So you are going to be okay. The problem is you're going to show property, am I right? And when you show property, you're dealing with the co-op agent that doesn't know what's going on in the industry. And they can't handle the conversation with the seller because they don't have a script. They don't know how to do it. Everybody with me? So the Forbes Committee came out with a special step. It gives me a headache and a heartache, but here it is. And that new special stip is 620, I think, is SS 620, special stipulation 620. Buyer requests seller to pay broker's commission. Now, there is a 619, it is for VA, because all of us know that under VA, the buyer cannot pay commission. So there is another one relative to the mandatory clause and asking the seller to pay the commission, but that is 619. 620 is the one I want to bring to you today, which is the same word that just left out the part about the mandatory clause. But it says seller hereby request buyer hereby request and seller hereby is agreed to pay buyer's broker blank as a total real estate commission due to buyer's broker at closing. Nothing in here shall be interpreted as a request to alter, modify, or change the commission to be received by seller's broker, if any, that seller may have agreed to in a separate written agreement. We all know that the Georgia real estate license law is very clear. The license law says you cannot alter, change, or modify commission without prior written consent of the other agent. That's the law. So the Forbes Committee did this. So I want you to listen carefully. You're showing property. One property they want to buy. The other agent did not know how to communicate with the seller, and this is the commission owed, right? Everybody got it? So I'm gonna give you a lot of things. The first thing I'm gonna do is call up the other agent and say, just for clarity, is there any way your seller would pay it? We've had two recently. I'm bombarded with phone calls. We've had two recently where the seller's agent said, yes, they will. Everybody got it? Did you hear me? Did you hear me? Why wouldn't you put it in monthly service? Everybody got what's going on, but what do? You got agents that can I call them idiots? Or whatever, that you're co-oping with. So you could call them and ask them. Everybody got it? If you call them and ask them, everybody got it before you show it, I'm going to tell you what in the multiple listing service says you're going to get paid.
0.
Do what?
0.
What? What?
No, I said that. If it's in the multiple listing service, it says 0.
Oh, no. If it's in the multiple listing, that's how you get paid. How do you get paid? By what's in the multiple listing service. Everybody got it?
Understand.
Okay, I'm sorry, my fault. So what's in the multiple listing service is what you get paid. If in the event that it's not in the multiple listing service, if it's not in the multiple listing service and you get paid 0, and when you call the agent, they told you that they would pay you, am I right so far? Everybody's in the game? Well, you have nothing in writing that they will pay. Thank you, right? So you're a little nervous, right? Could they get amnesia? Okay, so there's a form, it's called co-op. Now, listen to me, this form is, I'm gonna tell you how to use it. But I spent a lot of time working on this and talking to some people. So this is a co-op commission. If it were me, it says prior to showing, underneath it, it says to be used prior to showing. So I'm gonna send this over to that person and say, would you sign this? Everybody got it? Duh. And then they sign it. Now, this doesn't trump the instructions to closing attorney. This is a co-op commission agreement, because what is the other co-op commission agreement? The multiple listing service. That literally is a co-op agreement. I will co-op and I will share this with you, right? But in there it said zero, right? But you called them up and they said they would pay, right? So you get this, but this doesn't trump, you still need the instructions to closing attorney, because the instructions to closing attorney are literal. Instruction to closing attorney. This is a co-op commission agreement. Everybody got it? It's so easy if you think about it. So you're gonna still send the instructions, because you might wanna pay for a home warranty out of your commission or something like that, and that's what the instructions to close it. The instructions to closing attorney literally, it's just telling them to, letting the, attorney know what to put on the closing documents. This doesn't. This says what they're, you see what I'm saying? So this doesn't try, okay, everybody good about that? The other time this would be used, everybody with me, this is the co-op commission agreement. The other, I'm going over, the other time this would be used would be if it's not in the multiple listing service. There's no law in Georgia that says you have to co-op. None. So if there is a listing and it's not in the multiple listing service, you better call, say, do you co-op? They say yes. Will you pay? Yes, then you send this over before showing. Everybody got it? Well, we got another problem. We don't see a lot of properties in this area that are not in some multiple listing service, right? Not a lot, but there's some. We have a lot of off-market property. Do we not? Is there a listing? Is there a commission agreement? No. Because it's not multiple listing service. But the agent said I could get paid. It's an off-market property. Are we good so far? Would this be a good form to use for off-market property? Okay, so you might use this form of co-op commission agreement with that off-market property. Everybody got it? Non-instructions to closing attorney. Got it? But this doesn't trump the other. This form, I know everybody's wanting to know, this form is 258. I'm gonna say this about that. 258, here they are. 258. Now, this is what you need to know. This form is not new, it's old. But we're gonna use it more than ever, and it's 258. Co-op commission agreement doesn't trump the instructions to closing attorney, but it could be used for several reasons. We good so far with that? All right, good. I don't like this up here, but if this happened and you're showing your property and the commission is zero, are we good so far? So you would, this is what you have got to do. Mr. Buyer. There is no commission on this particular home that I'm showing you that the seller is paying the buyer broker. And you might remember when I met with you, and this is what you've got to do now more than ever. A buyer consultation and go over your value with the buyer. You would say, remember when we met? And I went over the buyer consultation with you and I gave you my value. All year last year, I went to team meeting after team meeting after team meeting, showed the Seth's video and said, you've got to have a buyer's value. Ironically, we have great seller presentation and we have great objections to handling problems with sellers. And I said, all year long, you have got to do that with a buyer. You have got to do that with a buyer. So we're back. Mr. Buyer, in this particular home, the seller is not paying a commission. And you remember when we met and I went over the buyer brokerage engagement agreement with you and gave you my value, you agreed to pay me 3%. So you're gonna owe me 3% because 3 minus 0 is 3. And you're gonna owe me 3. Everybody got it? The buyer says, I'll be honest with you, we don't have that. I know I owe it to you, I know I agreed to it, I know you have value, and I think you should get that. However, based upon my down payment and closing costs, I really do not have extra 3% to pay you your commission. Then you could say, we could ask the seller to pay it. Everybody with me so far? And then you could add this special step. But did everybody see what I did before I said you can add the special step? Did everybody hear me? You talk to the buyer first, because who owes you the commission in that deal? The buyer. Excellent, the buyer. So go back to the buyer. Because you can't alter, modify without price. So this needs to come from the buyer. You can't say, oh, don't worry about it. That presentation I gave you paying for, you don't need to worry about it. We can ask the seller. Everybody get what's going down? We don't need to say, don't worry about it. You need to go back to the buyer. Everybody with me so far? So you could add this special step, but what might the seller say? No. Seller does not have to agree. Everybody got it? So my point is, there's three things you do when you list a property, three things. One is you get the most money for the seller and the least inconvenience with the headache. So this could be a headache and a heartache when they get an offer. That's why I really can tell them it's better to put it in the original price, right? Everybody good? I got one more. Mr. Buyer, the seller did not agree. Maybe it's psychological or whatever. Please listen with both ears right now. You could, Mr. Buyer, it is your responsibility to pay me the 3%. And the seller says he's not willing to do it. But we could ask the seller to pay 3% toward, or extra 3. You can't go over certain limits. Scotty, can you check with the lender? And the 3% that you're getting toward closing cost, you can pay me my commission. The contract has always said, if you read it, that the buyer's closing costs can be paid for anything the lender allows, and it says including commission. It's always said that. Everybody got it? You're with me? So you put in there 3%, or if it was already 3, you might put 6. And the buyer agrees that at closing, 3 of those % of that closing cost is going to be paid to you as the buyer's agent for commission. Everybody good so far? Say yes or no. Okay, now, there's some issues. You've got to tell the lender about that. Everybody make sense? That the buyer, even though he's getting that contribution, he wants 3% of it to go toward the commission. Everybody got it? The other thing is, how do I talk about amnesia? Could that buyer get amnesia? Yeah. Everybody got it? So what form? Well, I went this weekend because a lot of people were thinking it was this co-op commission agreement. It can't be this because it says co-op. So I did a little bit of stuff. I thought I was going to have to send to Christina's forms committee and said we need a form for the buyer. And then it dawned on me, I'm glad I didn't, because I had to come back and said, no, we already got a form for that. And that form is the amendment to the brokerage engagement agreement. Everybody with me? So you had a broker engagement agreement, they're gonna pay 3, am I right? Say yes. All right, so you could send over an amendment to the buyer. This is an amendment to a brokerage engagement agreement. Would it be buyer, seller? It has a check mark right there. Which one is it? And you would put on here, this is an amendment that's between you and the buyer. Everybody got it? And this would work. That the buyer agrees that 3%, he's going to pay the 3%, but he's using 3% of the seller's contribution to closing costs to pay at closing for your commission. Everybody got it? And this would be the form to use. Any questions?
I have one. In your last scenario, is it not switching apples and oranges?
Yes.
So how do you overcome that challenge then? Because you're
The
buying.
seller, I don't know. First of all, does the seller have to know that 3% of that is going toward, commission?
Yes.
No.
No,
No, ma'am.
they don't have to.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. If you read the contract, it says buyer can use the contributions of the seller for anything as long as the lender approves. And it has something including commission. So do you have to tell the seller?
No.
Yes.
I do have a question about 258. So say that that seller has, because they put zero, that they only have 3% in their brokerage agreement with their seller. So,
It said, oh, go ahead.
so, this is between the brokers, the 258 is between the brokers, so that.
The
listing
co-op
agent-
agreement.
Exactly, so that listing agent is gonna have to go back to the seller and have an amendment.
Are you talking about using this special SIP?
No, I'm actually, well, not necessarily, it's even in that phone conversation that you had,
Oh,
right? So they
I got
had
it.
0%, they said, oh, yeah.
Well, they got to go to the seller and get the seller. Do they have to amend their agreement? If I was that listing agent, I would. What form would you use?
Amendment. to
Oh,
the
yeah,
listing agreement. So that was my question, they may actually have on their listing agreement 3% from the get-go.
Yeah, if the seller agrees to pay it before you even do anything over the phone, then it would be a co-op because the seller's really paying through the buyer, through the agent. So I agree, if I was a good listing agent, I would get an amendment to the agreement. Well, that's what that is, an amendment to the agreement is a signed agreement. To be honest with you, I forgot about the amendment to the brokerage engagement agreement. I literally forgot it. For those of you wanting to know what number that is, it's 728. We didn't use it very much. I'll stay.
Okay, okay. That was awesome. I think we're done. That was so good. I want to do something real quick. Everybody stand up. Everybody face that way. Everybody face that way. Good job. Everybody face this way. Everybody face this way. Okay. Everybody face this. What is the bold law that is on the back of the wall that has the picture of, yeah, that has the picture of the world on it? Whoever says it first gets $50 off their office bill next month.
Change your thinking, change your world.
Yeah, nice job. All right. All right, you can sit down.
We only got it because we had a lot.
Nice job.
And he doesn't have a job.
Here's why that's important, right? Because it all starts with our mindset, right? And also, this is kind of sometimes becomes white noise, right? And yet, these are so powerful that so many of us are implementing them in our business and are using them to move our business forward. And there's a couple agents this past month in December that actually were on our leaderboard. Does anybody know that? They came out hot off the press in our.
Terry.
Terry.
Yes.
Yeah, and Tim Derek was number 7 in team for the region as well. Really, really done. All right, we're gonna highlight just a couple, one page specifically for MMOs. And then we'll be out of here because I wanna make sure that we talk about some numbers. Before we hit this page, actually, can we do the other page? I want to talk about real quick, how much inventory and how much market there is out there. Sometimes we really talk about what this looks like for our metro and all of that. I am actually pulling up every morning, how many listings there are in the FMLS. How many closed units there are in the FMLS, how many pendings there are in the FMLS. So on the day that we go, there's just not enough inventory. Nothing is selling. Really? So in the FMLS, there are 16,499 listings that are active.
Somebody's selling.
Somebody is listening. Somebody is listing. There are 4,315 pendings. 5,552 properties that closed. And days on market, there are 23 for the FMLS. Okay, So on a day that we're like, there's just, nobody's listing right now. Maybe stop and check and go, there are, how do I go find them? How do I go pen the ones that I have? Because they're definitely out there. So our job should be every morning, ask yourself, what activity am I doing today to generate a listing appointment or listing? Every morning, that should be your question. And every night, what activity did I do today to generate a listing appointment or listing? That would be a great audit every day. Why should I focus only on listings? Because if my goal is 20 transactions that year, all I need is 10 listings that year. Because the byproduct will be 20. The other half is gonna happen from my listings, right? So our focus every day should be listing.
You know, I just got a big aha out of that. So December 31st is the biggest day of expires in the entire year. So on December 31st, there were 8,905 active listings. And today there are, okay, so this is a whole. Oh, there's a whole lot more.
Yeah.
So was that just for Georgia or all of
That's a
them?
lot.
I thought it
I know
was
that-
gonna be less.
2024 is our year, baby.
Yeah.
Other contracts a little even, par for the
Yeah.
income, but I thought it was gonna be less, but no, it's so much more, go get it.
Yeah. So last month, I don't know if you guys remember, last time that we did the MMOs. Do you guys remember the, sale price when we price it right? Our average sale price? 100%. And guess what? And that 400 to 500, it's still 100%. Do you guys see it? Okay, when you don't price it right, it is still literally the same number, 93.7. It has not moved. So we still need to concentrate on pricing it right. So days on market, when you price it right, it's gonna be 15. And days on market, when you don't price it right, it's gonna be 69. Whoa. So our goal should be pricing it right. 100% of the time, you're gonna get 100% of the price, right?
That's a good script to use with a seller that wants to overprice his home.
100%. This is the chart you should print. This is the prep. You get it, yeah. I can't speak right now. So this is the one we need to print. This is the one. Month supply for the FMLS is 23 days on market. So it's even better between that 4 and 500. And the average price point for, the average price point for our market center is 441. So that is why I always talk about that price point. Now, if your price point is different, go to the price point that you're in, that your average is for, right?
Or that the listing that you're going on,
That's right. Yep.
Also, another thing to note, I had a question last week from an agent that said quarterly stats had some interactive slides. Do MMOs have interactive slides? And they do. There's about 4 or 5 interactive slides that you can pull up. They're all saved on the intranet. You pull up the last month's MMO and you can customize it to the particular area your seller is in. So if you're in Alpharetta and the seller, you know the seller's probably gonna land somewhere between 600 and 700, you can print out custom slides for the area in that price point.
This is huge. This is great. Can you pull up the other one? A lot of people asked, what is a seller's market versus a buyer's market? And, no, that's okay. I really thought this chart, this page was really good because it shows you how big of a seller's market we have. Look at this. Between 100 and 2 million is the seller's market. Still. So would this be a good reason to ask yourself every morning, what am I doing today to generate a listing appointment or to generate a listing? Because the majority of our market is a seller's market. This one like literally caught my eye. Now, if you get a call for a buyer and somebody says, I'm just looking for a good deal, great. Between 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 million, it's a buyer's market. Let's go find your place, right? It's a great conversation, but if not, look how much opportunity there is for sellers. This is fantastic. What indicates a seller's market versus a buyer's market? How many months? 6. 6 and above is a buyer's market. And that was back in 2008 to 2011. I remember very well. Did you have a question?
No, I'm just trying to read it.
Okay.
He should have a copy of this. Yeah, no.
Any questions about all of this? We can dig deeper, but I just wanted to really highlight those 2 pages because those are really great for you to take on a listing appointment or to have conversations. Actually, it's great to have on a buyer's appointment too. When somebody's like, oh, I really want to get a good deal. Not so much.
That's right.
I love that slide for a buyer's consultation, when they get a good deal, that slide that said how many days on market, they get 100%, and it jumps down on a certain day, and you kind of have to look at this, we look at the MLS, this is where we're gonna start. If you want a 3% discount, then this is where it's probably gonna end up, we're not gonna look at anything that came on the market yesterday.
Yeah,
That's not.
no, we're not going to negotiate that price. All right, any questions on that?
Thursday.
Thursday.
So coming up, we have a couple of fun things
Yes.
coming up. Who's got the family reunion?
I am so excited. I am so excited. I think we have close to, 30 people that are going from the market center?
And we won the speaker jackpot. I mean, we got Mel Robbins and Tony Robbins.
Oh my gosh,
I
so
mean,
exciting.
you don't get to see those people every day.
No.
Or have opportunities to go and listen to the great. I just think
Yeah.
that's amazing. You don't go for any reason.
Yeah, super cool.
So Thursday, Melba said it, if you've got plans, cancel them. You gotta be here.
You'll go over statistics, but the beautiful part about this, I always leave there with notes, is that Leslie will help you give you scripts. By using these slides, she can transpose those into how to use them with the buyer or seller.
Yeah.
So,
How to word it well.
how to word it well, thank you.
She does, she puts it all into layman's terms, because I think we all look over the stats and we're like, how do we interpret this and how do we
Yeah.
convey that to our buyers and sellers? That is one thing that Andy and Leslie have.
Because it's hard to see the slides, I would encourage, it's hard to see, we've tried to work on it at, this is at Country Club of the South, and we've tried to work on how we do it better. So I'm gonna tell everybody, if I were you, I would pull up all of the slides and bring your phone, your computer, your iPad, so you can see the slides up close and personal when they're talking. Does that make sense? Because if you're like me, I can't read that minutia. Well, you read it, probably. And so we can't see that minutia. So if you have it in front of you, and I feel like that might be a great thing, I want to tell everybody, have it in front of you, it makes it a lot easier.
That's great. Yeah.
Excuse me, I have a question, please.
Yes.
What slides are we talking about?
There's the MMO slides that we just kind of highlighted on, so they're gonna go into really detail and explain how to be able
How do
to.
we get?
Oh, that's a great question. We have them on the intranet. So if you log into mykw.kw.com and you sign in with your username, password, you're gonna go down to the bottom right of the screen and you're gonna click on intranet 315. Once you do that, then you're gonna go into documents. Then from there, you're gonna go into chart masters and.
But you go to one other, you gotta go to Market Center, then Doctor. May I suggest
But I
that you send an email out this afternoon to everybody, giving them instructions?
Yeah.
So there
Because
are
trying to do it here is
instructions
hard.
on each, I send them, as soon as we get access to the quarterly stats, you get an email from me saying they're in and instructions on how to get there. You can also go back to one of the MMO emails that I send once a month, and the instructions are on the bottom of that email as well. And I'll make sure to put it on Facebook and send you another email today. But there are instructions on each email that I send out on how to access those documents. And so what we're gonna go over on Thursday is gonna be the fourth quarter from, October to December, everything that happened in the market during that time and how to, we're gonna go over a lot of stuff coming. I mean, I think this one's gonna be one of the most important. And we renamed it to State of the Market rather than Chart Masters. Chart Masters is the company that puts the big brains into creating these slides. But really what we're talking about is the state of the market. Yeah. There? Yeah. Everybody gonna be there? Who's gonna be there? Everybody? Everybody. Okay, thank you. Okay. You know I have. Okay.
All right, okay, we're gonna wrap it up with a minute with Maxwell.
My friend Linda Kaplan Thaler wrote a book called Grit. Love the book. Love Linda. John Maxwell here. Welcome to Minute with Maxwell. And basically, Linda says that if you have some tenacity, if you have some grit, it'll help you overcome some of the deficiencies in your life or my life. I mean, we all can't be the smartest person in the room. We can't always be the most gifted person in the room. We can't always be the one who sings the best, dances the best, teaches the best. But grit helps us get to where we need to go, even when we're, quote, not the best. In fact, I will tell you that in most races of life, grit many times wins over best. Because if you're just the best, doesn't mean that you have the tenacity to continue on. You might just kind of live off of your gifts. And if you live off of your gifts, you'll never accomplish what you can if you live off of grit. So just, hey, go inside of yourself, last a little longer than other people last, start a little longer than people start. I mean, just get in that game and let grit take you where others just don't go. And when you finish, grit wins, almost always over giftedness. I would rather have grit and less gifts than a lot of gifts and very little grit. It's that grit that'll get you to the finish line. I'm glad you're with me today on Minute with Maxwell.
I don't even know this, but the address, the chart message this time is a different address than we've been going to. So don't go beside county.
Yeah, it is not at the Theater Conference Center, it's at the Country Club of Roswell, which started today. Yes, 5 minutes up the road.
I will try to like every council that actually and it's not the world. The age that they have to play is typically people of